Today's episode is sponsored by Coros. Coros is the leading customer engagement platform. From social media to online communities to digital customer care, Coros helps companies authentically connect with customers. Coros connects consumer insights across departments and helps companies run their businesses with their customers, anticipating their needs and accelerating sales. Coros works with over 2,000 brands, including 52 of the Interbrand 100 companies, and powers over 500 million digital interactions every day. Check them out at coros.com. That's KHOROS.com. Hello and welcome to the Shiny New Object podcast. My name is Tom Ollerton. I am the founder of Automated Creative, and this is a podcast about the future of marketing. Every week or so, I have the pleasure and the privilege to interview the leaders of this industry, and this week is no different. I'm sat here with Olly Rzysko, who's CMO at Mahabis. Olly, we've known each other for quite a while now, but not everyone will be acquainted with your fame. Would you like to give the audience a bit of background about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so I'm CMO, Chief Marketing Officer at Mahabis. We specialise in slippers and we have been operating since 2014. I've been there since August in 2019, building a team and growing that business. We're focused on indoor footwear and doing it really well. It's sat in the premium sector. We sell for £79 to £120, so quite a wide price point. And really focused on, building a great business in the footwear market and keep on continuing to grow that on a global scale, but particularly focused in the UK and the US.
But you didn't start there, right?
No.
Well, you've got a really great story for how you got into marketing. I'd love to share that.
Yeah. So I started in retail when I was 13, and my granddad was a retailer, and I love retail. Shopkeeping is what I do, really. That's what my job is. I'm a shopkeeper. Right? It's just different shops and how we sell things. But my main career started when I was 20. I joined Primark as it was a relatively small, still significant business with about 90 stores. I joined them on the shop floor, on the lingerie department, which was quite a birth by fire. And a couple of years later, I was very lucky to join the buying office. And then a couple of years later, I was about 29, made a job as buying director, which was quite young and really exciting to have that responsibility and work in a business that's really exciting and fascinating and was on the up. And then suddenly one day after my Christmas party with a quite bad hangover, I was summoned into London and asked to come and see some of our directors. And they said, well, we've heard you know about the internet. We've heard you really care about how the business presents itself. We'd like to see you take over some of our digital channels and see how we can launch Primark in terms of Primark.com, their website, which is non-transactional, which didn't exist at the time. Didn't have a website at all, apart from just a store listing, and then launch their social channels as well. So it was a really exciting time to come into a clean slate, but in a business that was huge.
And so what have been the big lessons that you learned at Primark doing that social digital transformation that you call back on a daily basis for Mahabis?
Yeah, I think one of the things I learned there, one, I worked with some incredible people, like really inspirational people that trusted you to do your job. But the other thing I learned, which is really important, was that you are one of the very few departments that touches all of the departments in the business. So you've got an interaction with procurement, with retail, with finance, with accounts, with ICT, with the ethics and sustainability team, with the buying team, design team. Everyone has an involvement in what you do. So there's a lot of stakeholders and there's only one of you. And that's something that I probably got wrong a few times and didn't quite communicate with enough people or do it well. But when I got it right, which was hopefully the majority of the time, it went really well. And engaging people internally is key, I think, in this world.
So tell me about when it went wrong. Without naming names.
No. I think,
what were those kind of facepalm moments where you thought?
I think really it's around what you're doing and why you're doing it. And sometimes when you do a piece of work, it might be it could be a 360-degree tour of a store or something like that. but not really engaging with everyone at that store level to explain to them why we're doing it, or how we're going to do it, or the impact it's going to have on them, and what the output could be. And then probably also the other side of that is reporting back to them and saying, this did really well, and I probably didn't do enough of that because there was so much going on. Naturally, social was growing hugely at that time for brands. So there was always something else to do, and I probably never went back and went, thank you for doing that for me. This is what happens. Yeah.
Social media guy doing 360-degree tours. So Mahabis will touch on that more hopefully later, but that's not all you do, and that's certainly not a full-time job.
No, I'm with Mahabis the majority of my week, and that is, that's where I really spend most of my time. But I really enjoy getting involved in projects and exciting things that can make a difference as well, particularly on an environmental level. So previous to this, I was working at Heckles, which is a skincare company which has got a really big environmental focus. But in the last year, I came on board as a co-founder for Offset Earth. And without sounding too lofty, we're a subscription to save the world. There's so many subscriptions that we are joined to, and whether it's your razor or some other bizarre thing that you have delivered to your house, we really believe that for a small payment of about £4.50 a month, we can offset your carbon footprint. And alongside that, by sponsoring projects that remove carbon from the atmosphere and remove it at source, we also plant 12 trees for every single person that signs up every single month. So to date, we've planted over 500,000 trees, and the business has been going less than 9 months. So really exciting to do something that is engaging. It's inspiring people to do things differently as well.
And how are those two different roles and mindsets and two different businesses complementing each other?
They complement each other really well, fortunately, because I think when you look at the clothing, fashion, footwear sector, sustainability, environmental impact is becoming more and more important. So a good knowledge into that space is becoming more and more key. Understanding what greenwashing is and what it isn't, understanding the impact you can have very quickly is vital. And then also, I think, understanding the way in which you communicate to your audience the things you're doing and what excites them, and how tangible the things you are doing. If you say to someone, I'm offsetting my carbon footprint, it doesn't sound hugely sexy, right? But if you're saying, right, well, actually, we've funded 4 projects in these different countries to make a difference to these people's lives and make a difference to the environment, and on top of that, we've planted X amount of trees, it becomes a much more tangible thing that someone can become attached to, and something that's much more real.
So we need to get into the getting to know you questions.
Hello.
So in your career, have you been a reader? You've definitely had to be a doer. I know you've sort of thrown yourself in the deep end of different technologies and different marketing practices, certainly in social. But are you also like a theory person? Do you read marketing books? Do you recommend them?
Yeah. I have a love-hate thing with them. I don't really like the whole hustle approach of certain people that sort of...
Explain what you mean.
The Gary Vaynerchuk school of thought, I think, really. I get why he does what he does, but I don't see that as...
Sorry, for someone who doesn't know what that is.
Sorry, it's all about... It feels very hustle-based. It's about working the longest hours and hacking things and KPIs that maybe are not related to actual sales and conversions. It's more about just big numbers and a bit of ego in there. It's not really what I subscribe to. Where I probably found my biggest inspiration has been some of the more mature people in marketing, and I find those people really inspiring because they've seen it change, and their reference points, if anything, are still really relevant now. I think you had one of the guys from, was it Misguided, on here recently, and he was talking about some of the more older books, and they're still, I think it's about the Ogilvy books,
Yeah, and he was mentioning how great copy line writing techniques would be completely applicable to writing email subject lines.
I've got books, Dave Trott's books, for example, are beautiful. They're really easy to read, they're short, they're simple to read, but you walk away from one chapter going, I'm actually going to go and do something about this.
So how do you decide what books to read? Because I have like incredible book FOMO doing this podcast, because someone will go, oh yeah, I'm reading such and such, and like, oh yeah, I've really got to read that. And then I kind of click on Audible, and then all of a sudden it's like, unless I want to read Harry Potter or the Gruffalo, then and it's quite difficult to know which book to read. And I really suffer from reading books that reaffirm my bias,
Yeah.
as opposed to reading books that make me feel weird and scared and stupid. So how do you decide what to read?
Well, I'd say probably sit in your camp on that as well, because I bought a lot of books that I've read a chapter of and gone, no, this isn't right for me, and they have to go back to the charity shop. If you go to Broadstairs, there's probably quite a lot of old marketing books in the charity shop and the hospice shop. But so I think I've kissed a few frogs, should we say, and read a few and gone, actually, do you know what? This doesn't excite me as much as I thought it would. Doesn't feel as relevant. But where I've found the best results for me are the ones that are really inspiring, and they tell stories, because for me that's the best books. And I've always struggled reading like scientific books. I'm not really a scientific reader. I want a story. I want an anecdote that I can kind of share with someone in my team and talk about a story that I've read about.
So outside of books, what's the best thing that you've bought with your own cash that you use for work?
Yeah, I would say, well, it's two things, but they're linked. It's my Calm subscription and my Headspace subscription.
Wow,
I've got both.
You've doubled up.
Yeah, I've gone large.
The Amazon Prime and Netflix of mental health. Right?
Like turbocharged Zen.
Right, so you're the first person I met who has both. So tell me how you make them, describe both of them very briefly and how you make them work together.
So Headspace was primarily built as a meditation app, and to, I suppose, democratise meditation with guided meditations of various different lengths, founded by Andy Puddicombe, who was a Buddhist monk, I think I'm correct in saying that, and hugely inspirational, and really saw that there was a space for people that needed some literally headspace. So that's that app there, and that's been going for quite some time. They've just raised another, I think, $90 million funding. It's an incredible business, and I think you look at them and they want to be, the Netflix almost of meditation. It's the curation of what they do. It's beautiful. They're not putting out loads and loads of content. It's just very, very good and very tuned in to what you want to do. And then I've got Calm, which I actually use primarily really for sleep. So they've got these beautiful sleep stories.
Yeah.
So if any of you are listening, I recommend downloading Calm and trying out the GDPR Calm sleep story, where they can
explain
that, where they actually read out in very calm tones as you fall off to sleep. They read the whole GDPR legal framework.
I tell you what, my falling to sleep thing is, and I probably shouldn't be admitting this because my partner thinks this is deeply worrying, but I love falling asleep to true crime.
Wow.
Because
it's dark.
It is really dark, but I like to fall asleep before anything bad happens. But I like the narrators with the really warm, soothing voices.
Yeah.
And it was 1973.
Yeah.
And the Jones family went to the park and, oh, that sounds nice. And I'd like to fall asleep to that. But I think that the most safe and warm and snug you can feel is at one end of the spectrum, and sort of, being a victim of a true crime story is at the other end of comfort.
Yeah.
So it's almost like being in a tent when it's raining. It's
and I experienced really bad anxiety and stress about 6-7 years ago. Took on a bit too much work. I was juggling a couple of different sort of roles in a previous job, and it hit me pretty hard. So I took a couple of weeks out. I've written about it. If you want to read it, it's on my LinkedIn. I wrote a big article about it and what I did. But Headspace for me was a lifesaver. At that point, it was just default. I went, right, that's what I'm going to do, and genuinely dug me out of an awful hole.
And what happened at that moment of realisation? Was that a physical thing, or was it?
I thought I was having a heart attack.
Right. So a mountain of different.
Yeah, I was 31.
Right.
And I went off to hospital, and they went, "You're not having a heart attack. You've got a trapped nerve in your rib cage because I've been boxing." Right. But because of my anxiety levels were so high at the time, because I was drinking too much coffee, working very, very long hours, because I wanted to, and that's because I was enjoying it. Let's be clear, I really, really enjoyed it. And then, they were like, "No, you need to calm it down, mate. You need to take some rest." And I did. I took 2 weeks off, and walked around London Zoo a bit, looked at the penguins, looked at the sky.
And how did you get from penguins and sky to Headspace?
It was a book.
Right.
I'd heard about this book at the time, and it was like I was almost on autopilot. I just went and bought it, and then I can't remember if the app existed at that point, but I started to use the app as soon as it was, or around that time, and it gave me peace, and I owe it a lot.
And what is your mindfulness practice now?
I meditate often, not daily, but quite frequently. But I'm very aware, I think, of my mental state. So I know that now when I'm in the office and let's say you have a stressful meeting, I think my default previously would have been, right, go back to your desk and hammer out some emails, or, kind of do more work. And actually what I do now is I put my coat on and I go for a little wander around the block and get some fresh air and take
Very nice your office though, I can understand. It's quite leafy and
it's got lots of plants
it,
and comfy chairs, but I go out and that doesn't mean it's just work. That can be at home. I'm a dad, and being a dad isn't easy sometimes, and sometimes you just need a bit of peace and quiet and a bit of fresh air.
So that is your tactic now for dealing with overwhelm. But how good are you at working out how stressed you are? Like, do you know when you're like at a 7 or like how conscious now because of your meditation?
Yeah, I mean, I feel very balanced and I have done for 5 years probably. I feel like it took me about 2 years to dig out of that hole. And weirdly, a lot of the people around me, very close to me, had no idea. And I thought they all knew, but some of them had no idea I'd gone through that. They just thought I'd had 2 weeks off on holiday at the last minute. But I kind of just check in with myself, and I'm aware, and I can feel it in my body, like a little bit of sort of restless leg, sort of twitchy. Like I might go for that third coffee that I would normally only have one in a day, and I'm like, okay, hang on, something's not right.
I had breakfast with a journalist this morning, and he had a cafetiere to himself on the table.
That's a lot.
I will send him this podcast afterwards. So you've done a whole bunch of different things. You I didn't know this, but you feel like a shopkeeper at heart, or you are a shopkeeper. So is that how you want people to remember your career, as a digital shopkeeper, or what is the when we do your career eulogy, what do you want to be said?
I don't know. Like, for me, I'd like to think people thought I was fair, and I gave people opportunities when it was right, and gave them an opportunity to shine, and also gave them an opportunity to fail sometimes, rather than, you see some people that manage people that sort of wrap them up and protect them a bit too much, and I think it's really important that you let your team develop. And for me, it's the people I work with that are most important. I was actually in touch with someone last night that used to work with me 6 years ago, who's going for a job interview somewhere else and was asking me for advice, and that is what I want to be remembered for. The people that can actually message me and go, oh, I've not spoken to you for 5 years, but could you give me a bit of advice? And someone who was kind, and really considerate around different people's circumstances. Because as much as we talk about automation and AI and all these wonderful things we've got, at the centre of it all, there's people, and those people are your customers. They're the people that you sit with and you walk on that carpet with every day. And I just think it's really important that you're really mindful of those. And I think if I can leave them better than when they arrived, I think I've done a good job.
And do you think you're on target to hit that goal?
Oh, we'll see. I hope so.
If you love all things innovation and want to understand how brands plan to emerge stronger from the current situation, don't forget to check out MadFest London on the 11th and 12th of November. My good friend Dan at MadFest knows how to put on a cracking event, and there's always plenty of amazing speakers, beer and cool people to meet. Check it out at www.madfestlondon.com. So we're at the halfway stage now, which means we're into shiny new object territory. And I did have a very amusing email chain with you earlier in the week, and you wanted your shiny new object to be time, which is quite literally the least shiny of new things. But I think we're
my
loosely...
sundial with me.
we're loosely going to stay in that space, and your shiny new object is flexible working. So can you tell anyone listening to this podcast what you think flexible working is, or what it means to you?
Well, for me, it means that I'm enabled to go and work, with Offsetter, for example, and I'm enabled to go and work flexibly. So I do several days with Mahabis, but I've got a sort of day and a half, 2 days sometimes free to go and work with other businesses. They're not competing businesses, let's be very clear, but they're businesses that or people or groups that I can help. I really think that that's important. But for me, time and flexible working is so vital, because one of the skills that we are going to need more and more in the future is creativity. Right, it's the one thing that we're cutting back in schools. It's the one thing that we're cutting back in education. It's the one thing that you don't learn, as such. You have to physically do it to be creative or think about it. And I think when you work with people that need to have a creative mindset, they need to work differently. You can't ask someone to come in 9 to 5 and do graphic design 9 to 5, because I guarantee that person's waking up at 11 o'clock at night, 1 in the morning going, I've got the idea. Right, and you have to be mindful of that. It doesn't mean you can let them come and go as you please, but you've got to be mindful of how those people might work differently. Likewise, I think as a parent, I definitely acknowledge the fact that being a parent with a kid at school is not easy. Right, there's some real challenges around that. The kid needs dropping off at 9, and my daughter needs collecting at 3. It doesn't leave you a lot of time in between to do work, and there's a lot of people out there that could be doing great work, but are not enabled to because they've got a child and they have to do childcare. And I think there's some great initiatives now enabling people to work flexibly, enable people to work certain hours in the office and then go home and finish off their work in the evening once they put their kids to bed. And everyone's doing their job, everyone's doing a good job. But the more and more I think about it, the less and less I think it's about the hours you work, it's about what you contribute. And I mean, I've worked in businesses before where if you needed resource or a skill set, it was always about a full-time employee or an agency. When actually you're like, no, I just need someone 2 days a week. An agency is going to cost me too much, and I don't really need the tiers and hierarchy. I just need someone 2 days a week. But that very traditional model is like, well, we have full-time people or we have outsourced somewhere else. And I think that model's slightly broken. And I don't think we're getting the best out of people.
So I agree. It's been really nice for me to set up a business and think, well, what makes sense? And so we have unlimited holidays, for example, and unlimited remote working, but we have loose boundaries on it. So my business partner worked from Vietnam for quite a long part of the summer. I can't remember how long it was exactly, but anyway, and I think at times it was difficult. But how brilliant was that he was able to do that. I work from East London a bit now, or Newcastle, wherever it was, and that works for us because we're a relatively small team, and we go, look, I'm going to work from this place at this time in the future, and I'm going to go home now, or I'm going to arrive at 11. But I think the key thing for us, and I don't know if it's the same with you, that remote working only works if trust is a core value.
Absolutely.
And so we always say when anyone joins our businesses that like we've hired you because we trust you. You don't have to earn that trust. It's a given thing. Yeah. So if you're like, the best thing for the business is for me to come in at 2 in the afternoon and leave at 3, might be a bit weird, but I trust that's the right call. Yeah. But how are you making remote working work for you with the people that you're responsible for managing?
Yeah, and I think that's case by case, because every single person's different and everyone has different needs. Like I have different needs to, a 22-year-old who's working in my team. So we've got different requirements and different needs, and we've got more and more companies enabling you now to sell and buy your holiday and stuff if you need some extra days off. And
that I don't know about. Explain that.
So yeah, so say for example you get 25 days holiday. If you want to take a bit more, as long as your team are cool, your managers are cool with it, and it's within reason. There's a boundary. If you want to go on a 3-week break to see your family somewhere, that enables you to do that.
You can buy it. You can buy it.
Yeah, so you give up a salary sacrifice for the 5 days, so you wouldn't get paid for those 5 days if you like. Right. But likewise, if you don't take
all, a bit mean. Why can't you just give them an extra 5 days and just assume that they're going to work hard?
But I think you have to think about each business being very,
Right,
you know,
yeah.
and retail's quite challenging on that front, right?
Remote working, if you work in a shop.
Yeah, you know, there's just constraints, aren't there? And each industry is different in each different team, you know, and I think you just have to be mindful, you know, you spend so much time, so much effort, and so much money in recruiting good people. To lose someone because you won't let them work at home on a Friday is baffling.
Yeah, it's
Right,
crazy.
it's baffling that we would prevent someone coming back to work after they've had a child because we won't let them work flexibly, even though they don't need to be in the office. You know, we're not firefighters. You know, they need to be in work because there has to be some people to put the fires out.
So do you think we're going to go further? Do you think we're going to mandate remote working at some point? Like, we were discussing before we started recording that all of us in the office, that has some negative effects on our productivity if we're around each other all of the time. And similarly, when we all work remotely in December, for example, and that created different problems. And I'm starting to think that maybe between us and our business, we need to go, right, everyone has to work from home for, you know,
yeah, I think
15 hours or whatever.
I think I don't think the mandate thing necessarily works for me personally, because everyone wants to have that. Some people do want to be in the office. You know, some people do want to be there and they do work better and they feel it. They want to have structure of, I arrive at 8:30 and I go at 4:45 or whatever it is, and that's their routine. They really enjoy that. And maybe they don't want to be at home, right? Because, you know, if you're in a house share and you know maybe you don't want to be at home working because maybe it's not the environment that you want to work in. You know, likewise, if you've got a little baby at home screaming, you might not want to be at home working as well.
I can relate to that.
You know, so everyone's different, and I think it's just about acknowledging that and making sure that you're, one, securing the best talent for your business and also retaining them as well.
Right. And so, slightly different question. When you're doing Offset Earth stuff and Mahabis stuff, do you do them at the same time?
No.
So you've got like you've got a different browser or different machine.
I'm very, very structured in my days.
But surely you must get both emails on your phone. Like, how do you?
Yeah, but what I do is I you know, on the side you can have different email accounts open. So on my laptop,
right,
I will only have, you know, Mahabis open when I'm there.
Never tempted just to go.
No.
Right. Okay.
I think you have to be disciplined because otherwise, that 5-minute distraction sets you back probably half an hour.
Right.
You know, and I think there's this great thing I bought from School of Life. It's a yellow egg timer that times for 15 minutes. Such an analog piece of kit.
Like a Pomodoro type of thing.
I don't know what's what's that?
It's like, well, it's the
From
idea
Kent,
that
mate.
you should. Got an egg. But Pomodoro technique is like you set a timer for 25 minutes and then you have a break for 5 minutes.
Right.
So you go and have a coffee or.
But I use that quite a lot, especially when I'm working from home, because obviously there's more distractions. But I use that, and I'm like, right, I am gonna now sift through my inbox and try and file some stuff, or I'm gonna reply to these people, and like that time is there to make me focus, because there's always these distractions, there's always these notifications going off. You know, there's always something happening, and I just have to be very, very focused. And I find that my days can become shorter if I am. Whereas if I'm not focused, the days become very long and they don't really stop because I'm kind of weaving in and out of things.
And so, are you really militant about your out of office? You're like, don't email me till next Monday, or
I'm not, because I think if you breed the right culture in your team, they won't send you loads of stuff when you're not around. Right? They tend to be quite mindful of that, and my team are great. They know that if I'm not in the office, if it's important, they can always call me. I'll always take the phone call if it's important and we need to make a decision on something. And we're very agile. We use Slack really well, I would say.
So
I wasn't a fan of Slack.
Tell me about how do you Slack really well. What is that?
So it's much more, it's concise, it's clear. It's like, right, we need to do this. Is everyone clear? And it's like real clarity around who needs to do what, and then a confirmation. Everyone's like, yep, done. And it's not, oh, there's donuts in the kitchen, right? Because you can shout that out in the office, Right? It doesn't need to go on Slack. We're all in the same room, right? And it's quite useful because that shared access means if you're looking for something, it's very easy to find. If you know those keywords that you're looking for, whatever it's to do with. I find Slack really good, and particularly with Offset Earth, we have tons of people doing various different things for the business and supporting us and donating their time to make sure that we can make a difference. And that's the one way that we can all be together rather than an email thread.
And so how are you finding the relationship between WhatsApp at work and Slack?
I hate WhatsApp.
Why do you hate WhatsApp?
I find it kind of intrusive because I can't turn it off. And it's not that no one's texting me at the weekend, right? But if I go on holiday, I can't turn WhatsApp off because my wife's going to WhatsApp me from the other side of the village we're staying in France and going, "Oh, do you want a baguette or something?" Right? Yeah, I can't turn that off.
You can mute stuff then.
Yeah, but
it's still there.
You've got to go in and mute. Like you've got to actively do it. So I like the fact that WhatsApp for me is like, this is urgent, right? And this is important, or it's like someone might be out for lunch going, "Oh, do you want me to pick up a sandwich or whatever?" There's something that needs action now, right? Okay. But I don't want to be in a big group that send me messages at 10 o'clock at night or whatever for no reason. I just find that that's quite intrusive.
So okay. So WhatsApp's sandwiches and important stuff at the weekend, and Slack is
right. That's a tweet.
So I imagine there's some people listening to this podcast who are like, I would die to make my working more flexible. And for a smaller business, you can imagine it would be a case of, can we just have a cup of coffee and discuss how we do flexible working and get it done quite quickly. But if you're a Unilever or a GSK, how do you suggest that people who are not the decision maker, not the head of HR, not the head of marketing, like how do you create a culture of productive remote working in a business that's never tried it before? Sorry, I realise that's quite a big question.
Yeah, it is.
Interesting to know.
If I can fix that, I'll
be a remote working
be king of LinkedIn. They'll give me a crown and a blue tick.
What a terrible kingdom.
Yeah, that's dreadful. I think that's really hard, and I think every business is different, like culturally. And then inside those businesses, you've got offices in different countries in many cases, which have different cultures and different work ethics, different unions even, And then underneath that, you've got different teams that are responsible for different things. And I think you've got to get to a point where for flexible working, it has to be flexible within the business. And there's different areas that, can be very flexible. And there are areas that unfortunately can't be. But I think there are some areas that are very rigid and you've got to be there. But I think it's quite known when you go into that career that it is a rigid career. I don't think it's an unknown, if you're training to be, I can't think of a role right now because obviously I'm on microphone, but if there's a certain role in a business where you've got to be there, like your health and safety or whatever, and you've got to be in the office or you've got to be in this business, it's vital that you are there. I think you've got to have that understanding going into that role that the level of flexibility is less, but maybe there might be an opportunity for job sharing, but with that comes, salary sacrifice, which not everyone is, able to do.
So a very different question. Yeah. What are, outside of Slack and WhatsApp, what are the key tools that you need that aren't necessarily that well known to do successful remote working?
Oh, that's a good point.
What do you rely on? What is your killer bits of tech that are really useful?
Well, obviously a good internet connection, which is, I think we're arrogant a little bit in London to think that everyone has that. I went to Norfolk recently and to visit some family and I was amazed at how slow the internet connection was, and it was a real awakening. It was like, actually, do you know what, we're spoiled, to have the bonkers internet speed, and I'm out here in a village where people could be remote working, and actually it's almost impossible, and that's just the UK. If we think on a global scale, there's some real challenges there. It's not a given, it's a luxury still. I think for me the biggest one is a door on the office where I work at home and a space where I work, and to be able to shut that door and be really focused, not distracted, but also at the end of the day, be able to close that door and say, right, that's in there now. I'm finished.
As long as you can get your kids to respect.
Yeah, yeah. It's like that guy on the BBC News.
Yeah. My daughter's just at the perfect age now to be able to yank open a door. So
yeah.
like,
my daughter's at the perfect age that she's at school.
Let's leave it there. So Olly, if anyone wanted to get in touch with you, how do you want them to do it?
If you want to sell me things, find me on LinkedIn, right? Because then I can filter that out quite nicely.
And that is bullish, right? So give the salespeople a chance. What makes a good outreach to you?
Yeah, no, I think no. That's what I want to touch on. I think for me, I get probably 10 to 15 people contact me a day trying to sell me something from various different solutions, many of which are completely not a CMO's remit in many cases. They're just looking for someone from this business. I think really the key is, and the best ones I'm having a couple of phone calls with this guy in Germany at the moment who pitched to me over email, and he made it very clear. He'd gone on our website, he'd looked at what we did, he'd seen something that he thought he could help us with and said, look, I've seen this on your website, I've seen you do this, or whatever it was, I've got a solution that this is what I do and this is how we do it. Very, 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 very clear. And he'd obviously done his research. I went back to him and said, look, I'm really not interested. It's not right for us. But your pitch was great. Thank you very much. I really appreciate you getting in touch. And if it changes, I'll be in touch, And I think really respecting people. The other side of that is automated email chains that I receive going, hi, I'm just circling back. And I'm like, I know this is automated because it says unsubscribe at the bottom. And I got one of those today from someone I'd already replied to and said, sorry, I'm not interested. And I'm like, I went back to him and said, look, this is, it's a bit cheeky. Take me off the automation. I think there's a level of respect for people's time, and that really taints your view of that business if you approach and do it that way.
Yeah, having been an incredibly unsuccessful salesperson for a very long time, I think people need to be more honest.
Yeah.
I'm in the tables have turned to a degree, and the salespeople will contact me. And if I think they're doing it really badly, I'll say, look, this is a really, really bad way to sell your business.
Yeah.
And I'm not being rude or arrogant. Like I pitch to people all the time. Like I founded a business, I have to sell us often. But if in my career as a salesperson, if someone had turned around to me and said, look, Tom, it would have been much better if you'd researched the website and had a very specific reason, as opposed to me sending an email like, are you going to update your website anytime soon? Which is way simple.
I've had some amazing pitches, and I remember those people. There's a guy called Rory who works at Yext. I still remember the pitch. It blew me away, and I was like, I want you in the business tomorrow. Right?
Oh, what was the pitch?
It was just very clear. He'd looked at the problem we had. He'd come to us and said, this is a solution. This is what it does. This is what we do. This is who we work with. These are sort of measurements that we can give you. Give us a go. And it was really interesting, and those pitches, they're well researched, and I remember those people that pitch really well, and they can be small businesses and they can be enormous ones. It doesn't, I just think don't put me on an automated thread. It's really bad.
We're spiraling out into a bitch about sales techniques, but
yeah, so
clearly we both care about it. So so go on LinkedIn and research and read and send something of value and don't waste anyone's time. Olly, thank you so much. I knew this was going to be fun. I've been pushing you to do it for ages, and I'm so chuffed that you're finally here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tom.
Hi, just before you go, I'd really appreciate it if you could take the time to write a review of the shiny new Object podcast on Apple Podcasts or iTunes, whatever it's called these days, or whichever podcast provider you use. We're an indie podcast, so it would go a long way for us if you could just share the word and give us a bit of a support on those channels. That would just be fantastic. If you haven't got time, that's also cool. And yeah, if you could tell your colleagues about the podcast, and also, if possible, don't forget to subscribe. And I'd love to hear your feedback. If you'd like to speak on the podcast or be a guest, or you think I'm asking the wrong questions, anything, I'd be super interested to hear what you think. So please email me at tom@automatedcreative.net. That's TOM at, I'm not going to bother spelling it. Anyway, you'll work it out. Thanks so much.